Welcome to our evening program in Faith in Self, Finding Clarity of Mind and Heart. This is really a program on faith, finding your self-worth, a program to help you reclaim this feature, this aspect of yourself. Clarity of mind and heart will be needed, and you will learn to use some elements of color and sound to help you get there. Before we begin, we need to be aware that this unique technique in this program is based on using lighted candles to achieve a goal. If you are too concerned about using candles, then perhaps this program may not be for you. Next slide. We begin by exploring the enduring truths of our early existence. This universe was created with divine order. There are rules and laws governing which are immutable and to which we are subject at all times. It is simply the way everything actually works. And we need these to sustain life and have an orderly existence under God's plan. It is the challenge of each lifetime to awaken to the truths by which we are living, and also seek the ultimate truth of our own true, real reality. This is our identity, really. Many anxieties in the world are due to not understanding these. And it is worthwhile activity to take up the challenge embedded in this and that is inherent in the search. Our day-to-day life gives us limiting view of our true nature and what our purpose in life really is. When engaging on the path to self-discovery, we find that our choices are actually driving our life and creating the conditions in which we see ourselves. So, if we can adjust these choices, the situations around us will change. Finding that the cause and effect of our life is actually by our own hand is the greatest truth we can discover. As a nurse, as a minister and now pastor of many years, I have found that the most important personal reality is that a great many people have to cope with is self-esteem. And of course, the decision-making process itself. Next slide. In participating in a simple exercise, you will learn how to use the energy of change. We do this all the time without any thought given to it. Actually, you can't exist without moving energy. We just don't see it. It is how everything gets done. Your daily life and all of its activities are actually very extraordinary because you are constantly creating everything. By directing energy to move, this is instigated by your mind and, of course, by your thoughts and your desires. Now, this program will show you how to incorporate a specific ceremony to aid in your personal transformation. And personal transformation is an absolute need for every human being in this time frame. It is 2024 as I am speaking, and so much is rapidly changing, and each individual is being asked by their soul to make the necessary changes. A very different world is coming into existence, and the old ways are not going to work in that new, improved, higher and finer energy. All destructive energies and behaviors we have allowed in the past will not be allowed there. Here in this presentation is an avenue to help you begin, in some cases, to move along faster. Next slide. The technique uses both color and sound in a unique way to get to where we are going. Color, of course, is an important component of pure light. You learned early in life about refracting light into its component colors using prisms. Light is necessary for life on Earth. Light is not just a solar phenomenon, but an intrinsic component of all universes. Light is actually from the original creator of all forms. So when it comes down to it, we are all products of the eternal light. That is a larger topic, which is touched on in more detail in another program. Now, each color is a component of the one light, and each has its own vibratory pattern or frequency. Each color also has its own characteristics and values. So it belongs to us and has specific elements for our health, balance, and ability to live as a human being. The next slide. We are also using sound in this technique, and the sound here is not music or chant, but your own voice, which will vocalize specific affirmations designed to achieve each goal as we be addressing in this program. Your voice is a powerful instrument in its own right. It's really, we forget that. In our program on color and sound, you will find much more information on that aspect. Today, we're using the power of the mind combined with your vocal sounds of specific affirmations to create a powerful component of the ceremony that we're going to see that we are developed. Deep within the DNA of all humans is the memory of times past when ceremony was an important part of life. All societies had their own particular ways and beliefs, which gave the form of the ceremony to their society. Invariably, both candles and chants were both part of the form. In this program, we are using affirmations instead of the chant, which are considered to be positive mental dynamics. The positive energy generated actually has a frequency much higher than a negative one. Lots of interesting research on that one, which I will invite you to look up because there is a plethora of it on the internet. So next slide. The power of affirmations is extremely well documented. It has such dimensional power to activate your hidden or latent power to act and be present in a positive way in the world. Especially today, when moral values seem to be tossed aside by loud media persons, it does not reflect the average person who had high standards and values. Interesting self-esteem for most people is setting sights on the highest goal and then performance, following that, the performance in life. It will be a life well lived when one can do that. These positive people are the future of the world. Next slide. Setting up your place in which you do the ceremony, you would select a room or section of a room in which you can proceed to burn a candle safely and be private enough to say affirmations out loud. Furthermore, consider that this area that you have chosen to be sacred and its sacred space to be used in a respectful manner from then on, because you would want to do ceremony in the same place each time once you get involved in this. To begin, the area needs to be cleaned and cleared of all other lower energies that might be there. So you can start by physically cleaning the chair, the table, and any area around it, physically cleaning it. Then you can either sage the area or spray it perhaps with rose-scented mist that will help the negativity be dissipated, because my training has told me that negativity cannot be present in the scent, with the scent of roses being present. You may find another way to clear the space if you prefer. So you set your intention to do the ceremony and then relax and begin. The next slide. The power of consciously using both color and sound simultaneously amplifies the effect exponentially. You will learn in our program on color and sound that they actually exist this way. They are just operating at different levels of frequency. For each color, there is a corresponding note and vice versa. Next slide. Now, this slide is a reminder to tell you to use your imagination and your imaginative ability that you do possess. We do image constantly, aware of it or not. However, using imagination consciously can produce very powerful results. Everything begins in the mind, but must also include the heart as well. How you think and how you feel about what you think must be congruent. These two must be in balance to be able to discover your own truth. Always remember to consult your heart, because there is where you find if something is good for you or it's not good for you. When you develop the habit of including this, you will increase your ability to make appropriate choices that will work in your behalf. It is so powerful, it can even change your life. Now, on the next slide, I'm talking about the genius of Dottie Mella, who is, of course, Michelle Luson, our founder's twin sister, who created the workbook Candle Power. She is a renowned color expert who was an artist, author, and intuitive counselor. There are a number of transformative exercises in the book, but I have chosen the two which I feel in my many years and background that are the most commonly recurring issues in many people's lives. So going on to the next slide. This is where I'm talking about low self-esteem. This has plagued humanity probably from the beginning, because that's just my assumption, of course. But if my assumption is connected to my knowledge of spiritual happenings and from prehistory, we learned a lot about prehistory from Michelle. Again, this is a vast topic which we cover in several areas on our website and in our chapel services. But the short version is when mankind fell into the trap of glorifying physical reality in favor of the spiritual one. The lower values were created. These lower values were created by doing that and made it a world, me or them world. And that's how people have been oriented since then. Self-valuing was based on very artificial measurements, and the mores of the succeeding civilizations perpetuated severe ranking systems. As time went on, it only got worse and became universally accepted as the norm. As the old Frank Sinatra song, That's Life, says, I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn, and a king. I've been up and down and over and out. And I know one thing, that we have lived all of these different kinds of life that I am very clear about, and that we have all been there. But I also know one other thing, that this is a fact of reincarnation, and where we get into to experience many roles and an extraordinary number of circumstances in order to reclaim our spiritual self. In the process of that, a distortion of self-image has occurred for virtually everyone. This is the one we are looking at here: low self-esteem or lack of self-worth. The next slide. Now, symptoms of lack of self-worth, according to psychology and certainly from observation, are often those you see here on the screen. All of us are familiar with these issues from time to time, but people who lack self-esteem are more prone to depression, anxiety, and persistent worry and self-doubt, which could or might lead to reliance on some form of chemical help, which is more often than not self-prescribed. The next slide. Now, affirmations produce many benefits. And the one that I believe that is so important today is the ability to be more positive in general about life. Humanity has been moving into the higher energy of the Christ consciousness, which will be the energy of the new millennium. However, we humans have to remain positive in order for that part of the picture to work through prayer and meditation, if we're going to achieve that goal. Affirmations are a fantastic help. We're going to tap into the ancient tradition of ceremony as well, because it goes deep within self. It reaches the soul like lesser exercises fail to do, and awakens a familiar feeling of belonging. Before the crass materialistic world took over, we did belong to one another. We valued each other and looked at the world with assurance and confidence. In remembrance of that ancient world, we vocalize out loud our intention and appeal to the universal light to bring in this energy that we are asking for. We are actually awakening our own inner world when we're doing this, and it is a powerful experience. Never again delve into the old way of thinking, but now step out into a new positive world of the future. Now, the next slide. Now, to get to the nitty-gritty of what this ceremony is about, the candles to purchase for the increase of self-esteem are those here on the screen, which you can see. I recommend buying candles with a larger diameter that will sit firmly on the center of a heat-resistant plate. Or you can purchase these in a smaller size as votive candles that are already in a heat-resistant glass. So you set the candle securely on your heat-resistant plate and light the green, white, and silver candles only. The green returns balance immediately to the individual lighting it. The white aligns self with the universal self, and the silver returns honor and self-respect. But here you must put forth the effort of honoring oneself. There must be some effort within you that says, I believe this about myself. I believe this to be true. And you stay in prayer and meditation for a sufficient time to allow feeling of this kind of balance to return to normal, especially if you've been depressed. You got to take a little bit of time here. It may be a longer time for some people. And once you feel that you have achieved a certain balance of feeling better about yourself, feeling better about life, in the process of doing your prayers, meditation, and self-affirming, and only then you light the rose pink candle. This will ensure an inner connection and impress the sanctity of the occasion on your deep subconscious. At the end of 1 hour, as you know, as you're going through this, you're going to, at the end of 1 hour, extinguish the white candle and say the affirmation again. At the end of 2 hours, extinguish the silver candle with the affirmation and proceed to do the same for the green and rose pink candles as well. Say the affirmation often while you're in this ceremony. The ceremony will take up a great amount of the day, as you can see from the amount of time involved. So be prepared to spend that day on this topic and exercise. And for heaven's sakes, do not leave your candles unattended. And slide 15. The affirmation in this is the affirmation that you say out loud in the name of light. I love and honor myself, and I desire to share in all health, honor, and respect that is mine by divine right. That's a powerful affirmation when you take it in, and this is something to do with some amount of passion within yourself. Sort of similarly, at the same time, you're sort of appealing to God. It's a very deep attachment to the words that you're saying here. It's very important. And that will be something to remember to put up on your, post it on a mirror or on the wall somewhere where you can see it often, or by your computer, so that you can remind yourself. Because people with poor self-esteem, it's been a lifetime journey. This is not going to be a magic turning point. It will be the beginning of the turning point for many people. Really, truly moving into it, getting involved, and wanting to recover self's estimation of self. Because unless we value ourselves, unless we bring that to the front and say, I do value myself, and therefore will not allow anything that is disrespectful to come back to me, not in an egotistical way, but in a way of truth. You know what you're aligned with, you know who you are at this point, and you know that you deserve, because of your placement by your own God self on the planet, that you deserve these things. But it's very hard. I think I'm going to go off my script a little bit here to let you know that I think it's very difficult when you grow up in a household that doesn't have self-esteem in it, that nobody is treating each other well and everybody is putting somebody else down. I'm sure that that's one of the pathways. Otherwise, you're just modeling what's actually going in the house, and you don't feel you always have to be worried about what other people are thinking or saying. That's a very common affliction of humanity. And this is where self-worth and self-doubt then come in. And then the people go through their life coming from that framework all the time. And it isn't a very good place, because their position in life could be improved if they had just normal amount of self-respect and self-concern, and honoring their place, that they are rightfully here on the planet and can make normal claims on life to be placed correctly in anybody's estimation. So it's a very interesting, but it is a lifelong journey for people who truly have this. It's a lifelong journey. This is not a panacea. This is something to be put into your repertoire. If you're not doing work on this, then this might be the beginning work for people. If it's not your beginning work and it's just one of the things you're putting in, this is going to be very helpful. Most people, if you can't get over it with some simple techniques, you really do need to go into a counseling situation and let somebody with more psychologically demanding techniques bring this out to you and help you get on in life. So I just wanted to put that out because I know it's for anyone who truly has lack of self-worth, this is going to look like oh, here's somebody who doesn't understand and giving it a quick fix. So that being said, I want to go on to the next slide. This slide is going into the next problematic area that I have a lot to say about because it has to do with decisions and how important that is. These are the good choices we need to make. Now, the affirmation that's on the screen and the candle colors and their timing are here as well. And this is done in the similar manner as you have done for self-esteem from the previous slide. There's nothing unusual about that. You can burn all 3 candles. You don't have to wait for the last one on this slide. But again, it's a repetition of the affirmation. The affirmation, in the name of light, of understanding, I desire to make the right decision that is in harmony and balance with my total being. Its outcome will only be for the good of all. So you're claiming a position in the world of a decision making that you're going to be much more attuned to not only your own needs, but the needs of others around you and how it's going to affect them. So it's a way to use the power of your mind and positive affirmation to bring your life a request to your creator to allow illumination on the topic to be so bright that you can't but see the best choice to make in the decision making at hand. Again, this is not a panacea, but it will deepen your doing ceremony, will always deepen an experience because you're going within yourself. And the deeper you can go, the more likely you are going to be illuminated and get a really good handle on what it is you're looking for. But you need to be respectful of this process. If the decision is extremely important, you might want to go, sleep on it, whatever you're coming up with, because so many small decisions we can make on our own without going through this. But I think this would lend itself more to the deeper questions in our life. So where are we, what's going to really affect us at a much longer and deeper level. So you pose this query to yourself after you say a prayer for help and ask that insights be revealed in your dreams. So this is how you go to sleep at night. Even say the same affirmation again and say, this is what I want revealed. Direct yourself at night before you go to sleep and put your paper and pencil out. Of course, you have to recall it and write it down. And if you remember any aspect of the dream, when you wake up, just be sure you record it. It's so important because the next thing that happens, it might wipe that out. And it may have been something something that you wouldn't come upon very easily otherwise. It will have some relevance to your question, whatever you get. You may need to repeat this ceremony again if you are still unsure. And of course, do more prayers and then just relax. Your constant anxiety that you might get around getting this answer is going to block you. There is a very big need to give credit to the ceremony and just let it go, as they say, and let God bring it to you rather than for you to be sort of clawing at trying to get the answer. Because that anxiety, I'm sure, is not going to get you a good answer anyway. So On the next slide, how do you know you're making good choices? And these are just a few hints. I'm not sure that they're all the hints like you have, but when you're making a good choice, you're going to back off, take a deep breath, and get into a neutral place. You have to be willing to go either direction. Yes, no, whatever. That you're feeling calm and centered. So we have a nice couple of exercises on our websites that talk about calming yourself and centering yourself. You might want to do that. And if you can, be aware that you have a predisposition or a prejudgment in the area. I think half of the time we know whether we're leaning one way or the other. And you have to be honest about that, because somehow you got to back away from that. And that's more prayer, more assuring yourself, asking for a clearing. This is where clearing will come. So you know that you have to have prayed for higher assistance in this, because this is what the appeal is from the higher assistance within yourself. And know that you have to also consult your heart. And that means, how do I feel about this? Does this feel good if I choose this? How would that be? But can I feel good about this or not? Is it really going to be it's going to help me or isn't going to help me? So there are things that you can do along the way in your decision-making process that are most helpful in even the small decisions that we make. Then the next slide. Well, it's all in your hands, but first of all, I want to leave with the warning that you remind, if you were using burning candles, you please take care of them. Do not let them out of your sight. And don't forget that they're burning. Extinguish things, make sure they're out, extinguish. I think I need to put that out as a reminder to everybody who could walk away from these and forget they're there. So I highly recommend that you set an alarm for each candle and immediately attend to them. Okay. So do not leave your house with candles burning. It's very important. Plan your ceremonies when in truth you are going to be there, and pay attention. Because these all are nitty-gritty things, but they're important for you to not have a bad experience so that you can go back to these. You can reassure yourself that these things can be of great use to you in the future. You do have to remain positive and allow things that you're looking for in these answers to take, if they're going to take time. Be patient with yourselves and others, and always, always keep looking up. Do not look down on any situation, because everything in your life, like it is for me, is in your hand. It's in your hand. It's in our own hands. It's in your hands, your life.